So, are you happy that football's back?
Yes, I am. I'm a big hockey fan also, and I watch a lot of wrestling, so I see sports all the time. But there's just something special about the Eagles and the NFL that I don't really get from other sports. I think maybe it's because it's one day a week for the most part. It's easy to keep track of.
Well, it's 16 games a year, so
yeah,
it's like your season could be done in the first 3 weeks. It's like, oh, we're 0-2. It's like we allow ourselves 6 losses if we expect to go to playoffs. So if you start 0-2, you're like, eesh. Like we got the whole season to go, and we can't lose 4 games.
Yeah.
So now I see that you're a Philly fan. Now, the day that they pelted Santa Claus with snowballs, where were you?
I'm not sure if I was alive, honestly. And if I was probably.
Was that an annual tradition?
I don't think so. I don't hear about it anymore. You just hear about it the one time from the 80s, and that's really it. It's like any epic story that people tell at a party over and over and over. It's always the one time, and it always gets bigger and better with each telling you hear it.
I feel like how elated were you, and where were you for the Super Bowl win? Because I saw true fans like years, and I thought the Cubs winning the World Series would do it, but no, Philly winning the Super Bowl was like everybody was just like, all right, party on. We're like, no one's stopping us. Like if we're burning a couch in the middle of the street, we're burning a couch in the middle of the street. And the best was like the police announced that, hey, ahead of in case we win the Super Bowl, we are greasing all the light poles and telephone poles, just in case someone decides to climb on it and do crowd surfing from there, because we know how you guys are. But you do know that Philly is the only stadium that has a jail inside the arena, right? Like an actual jail.
That's because they didn't want to gum up the legal system by having people show up at court, so they just had a judge downstairs to take care of any fines and sentencing on the spot.
All right, man. So one of the things I want to talk to you today about is I watched your short video on YouTube, which was awesome, by the way. What was that called again?
The Chart.
All right, and that's available on YouTube. You also did an anthology called Life in the Pandemic. All right, correct me on this one. I know Pandemic was in the title.
Close. Tales from the Pandemic.
Tales from the Pandemic. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I know from past conversations that you're a stand-up comedian or experienced as a stand-up comedian. I gotta say, because each story was 1, 2 pages, maybe 3.
Yeah, 3. Yeah,
and a couple of them. The setup, punch, and hard-hitting nature of each of those was excellent. Because horror and comedy are like twin, they're twins basically. One's one way, one's the other way, but they both follow similar rules in that, you're setting up the rules. If you don't mind me talking about a couple of the stories, there was one where it's like a little girl and she's told, always wear your mask. Always wear your mask. And I'm not going to spoil what happens, but the horror tropes and the setup and punchline of well, of course she's going to meet a boy that's not wearing a mask, and
of course,
and what happens after is pretty horrific. But it wasn't gory or the horror that you pulled off in that one. I really appreciate because it was thinking, it was timely. I got huge from the introduction and to the outro. I got a huge Twilight Zone vibe off of it, and a lot of people try to be Twilight Zone, but they fall short. Yours actually was legitimate, Rod Serling level Twilight Zone. I gotta say, congratulations on that. That was a huge accomplishment.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. This was a book that we put together spur of the moment. It was, when the pandemic hit, when we were still in it now, but a lot of things were shutting down. A lot of publishers are shutting down. I had a lot of friends who were out of work. So I just wanted to try to put something together, both to, lift their spirits and give them, a couple extra bucks here and there. I mean, 3 pages isn't a lot for them, but it's a good distraction, I felt. And just, hearing people like yourself giving us praise for something that we did like that. I mean, that's a reward in and of itself, I feel. But yeah, this is just something that I really just did with my friends for my friends. And we put it out there for free on Gumroad. I mean, it's pay what you want, but a lot of people are taking us up on the free offer just because we want to provide a little distraction for them where we can.
Yeah. When you say Gumroad, like what Gumroad is that, just so that people know where to find it at?
Yeah, so Gumroad.com. It's if Kickstarter is like crowdfunding, Gumroad is like your SoundCloud for various things. Lots of comic creators use it, and they put up files, musicians, photographers, models, all sorts of people. It's kind of like Patreon, but instead of a monthly reoccurring fee, you can choose to have one item for a static price as you go.
It's like I was looking into Gumroad a while back. Like I didn't have enough stuff that I would have liked to have been able to like justify spending. I think it's like $1 a month or $10 a month for having a storefront.
No, I have.
There's a free app?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'll look into that then. All right. So all right. I don't want to like go too much onto like into the pandemic or tales from the pandemic, but how would you say like your comedy background influenced putting that together? Because were you just like looking around, like seeing like what people do on, because there's a lot of everyday life in there, especially like anyone who went through the pandemic or what we're going through right now is going to recognize, oh, I watched Netflix. Oh, like there's this mask thing. Oh, someone just sneezed.
Yeah.
Did you like what were the tools that you brought to writing that, like from your comedy background? Because I feel like if people want to understand horror better, like they should study comedy just for the purpose of like the tools are there.
Yeah, a lot of comedy is just observation. That's my forte, is self-deprecating observational comedy, where you try to find a nugget of what people know and that's universal and skew it in a way that, makes it seem absurd. And that's a lot of what horror is, like you said, also. We were just looking at what's happening in the news, what's happening in our personal lives, what we saw friends going through on social media, like people taking plane rides. What's up with that? So we did a story around that. I have many times sat here on my couch with Netflix or Prime or anything on, and it's always the dreaded, "Are you still watching?" It's like, yes, I'm still watching. Keep this train going. But yeah, it's just a lot of my comedy is derived from life, and a lot of this is also, just real life events that we're skewing in a way. This is more of a Twilight Zone vibe, like you said, but we're still trying to find the familiarity people can relate to it.
Hold on for 1 second. You can change it. Just keep the volume down low. I don't want to be able to hear it on this. All right. Sorry about that.
Sign of water break.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Take as much as you can. Like eventually, if I get to do these things in person, I want to do the Andrew Santino model, which is like have a glass of whiskey, or like I tried doing this in bars, and they are not conducive to like recording at all. But like there's a certain energy it brings that I am a fan of, like because it's just like raw chaos.
Yeah.
But so now you have a book coming out with Scout Comics called Killchella, I believe.
Yeah. Yes, that is correct.
Now, I know it's in the early stages. Like, can we talk about it? Or
yes,
like what
absolutely.
Can we talk about?
We can talk about anything you want to talk about. I mean, I'm not going to give you full blow-by-blow spoilers, but we can get into it.
Okay, so walk me through like the like everything starts with an idea, and then what you don't hear about people talking about is like the all right, I have an idea. How do I bring it to a publisher? And then hopefully the publisher is like, oh, that's a great idea. Let's do that. So walk me through that process.
Yeah, so I guess I'm gonna have to bring you all the way back to October 2016, where I spent some time in the desert of California. Palm Springs, the Palm Desert, is kind of where the Coachella Festival is every year. And just being in that terrain, I'm from New York. I mean, you know what it's like. This is tall buildings and gray skies. But when you get out there into some place I've never been to, like the desert, it's a completely different world. I mean, it's 190 degrees on the floor, and then just a mile or so away is one of the tallest mountain ranges on the West Coast, and you can see snow on top of the mountain. That's unreal from where I come from. So, spending that time out there, I was thinking more and just the area, the type of people that live there and such. And you got to think like the hills have eyes and stories like that take place in the desert, trying to find a horror story. Um, This one in particular came to me while I was reading a news article about a woman who spent five figures, several $1,000s, trying to get herself Coachella ready. I mean, that's her wardrobe, her dieting and exercising, her cosmetic surgeries and such. And I was like, who can I curse on here? All right, I was
Say
like,
again?
no, I said, can I curse on here?
Oh, go ahead.
All right. Well, this deserves it. It's like, who the fuck does that? Who spends like a year's salary just to get ready for one event? Because the quote was, "It's not enough looking good in your own photos. You want to look good in the background of a stranger's photo that you didn't even know is being taken." So I was like, okay,
I can kind of relate to that.
Yeah.
Because every year, whenever New York Comic Con or some big convention comes around and they have their own press release photos or someone tags somebody on Instagram, like I always have, like not an outfit, but I used to have a briefcase that was a metal cash box that I painted with my logo, which like before I had the Double Barrel Theater logo, I had the like the editor logo, which was like two eyes that will always follow you wherever you're looking. So from any angle, it's like one of those art tricks where if you put two circles next to each other, and like they'll just follow your eyes naturally. It makes you, something about it makes you think you're following it. Like old paintings have a trick of doing it too. So whenever someone put out photos, like the narcissist in me was like, "Ooh, did I make it? Like, did I get into someone else's photo? Like, I don't even care. I can't even find myself. If I could find my briefcase, though, which is very rare, but I think I did it once, and it was the greatest feeling of all time because that meant it worked.
Yeah.
So, but continue. You were talking about.
No, I mean, I've been there too. Especially 2018, I went to a lot of WWE pay-per-views, all the big pay-per-views, and I sat ringside. And I would look through the photos. I would have friends watching the network to see if they spot me. People would be tagging me in pictures, so I could, get that. But yeah, no, I was just, going back to the origin of the story. It was just, what type of person is this? And I got to think more on the event. And from there, we built the story around. I mean, I can't legally use Coachella, so it's a concert that takes place in the Coachella Valley Desert. So, but yeah, from there we just built the story. I hired Serge Acuna and his wife Catherine Lobo. They are the art team on this. We had a feeling that we were onto something special from the very beginning, just because of both the nature of the story and the pacing that I put it through. I sent you the first few pages, and you saw that's just your classic setup for a horror.
Dude, they killed it.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean you can see.
Like in terms of, because there's so many tools that you need to have for certain stories, and with horror, you have to have the ability to set the tone. So like a lot of there's a lot of things that I'm not gonna say hack, but there's a lot of things that are tired, and so like when people draw things too dark. When they draw things too dark, everything's like, well, like there's something out there, but we don't know where it is, and so they just make it dark. So like you as the reader don't know where it is. However, me personally, I feel like when you know that, all right, that's a problem right there, that's a problem, and the people, the characters playing it out, they don't know it's a problem.
Yeah.
So I had a coffee and a power bar before this, and all of a sudden it's trying to kill me.
Oh no.
So
we can just edit this part out.
So the two characters, like there's this shadowy figure, middle of the day, and it's the prologue, shall we say. It's not the main characters, but there's a character in there that's probably going to come back. It's like the opening to every horror movie.
Yeah.
Or not every horror movie, but like the vibe. Did you ever see the movie Urban Legends?
Yes.
It's a slasher
movie a long time ago.
Late 90s, early 2000s. It's one of those like great horror movies that just goes under the radar because I Know What You Did Last Summer and Scream also came out before it.
Yes.
But it's just such a great premise because like the kills have a theme to them, and well anyway, but yours does, which if it's about millennials and influencers and like a horror setting with those, just like killing two people that are spoilers, sorry folks, or like trying to kill two people that are going for the Instagram shot is just like it hit the tone just perfectly. Like I'm really looking forward to that when it comes out on the shelves.
Thank you.
So it's coming out from Scout Comics, right? So
yeah, 2021,
early
2021.
All right, so walk the audience through the process because I've talked to editors and I've had conversations, but I've never actually gotten to the point where I'm actually pitching them stuff. Like I've showed them stuff and not had it happen. Now you, on the other hand, are actually a success story of talking to editors. So for someone who doesn't know what that is, walk us through that.
So there's two different roads to get books published. The first one is the one I took, in which you have an idea and you have sample pages, pilot pages, if you will, to show them a proof of concept of what the story could look like. And then from there, you have to have, your synopsis showing them where the story goes. That's what 99% of my interactions with editors are, where you have to approach them with an idea. You have to have all your stuff assembled and put together. It's like you're going to give them a package, pretty much like a door-to-door salesman with the vacuum cleaner. You have to have the vacuum cleaner. You can't just have the idea of a vacuum cleaner. So that's kind of what this is right now at this level that I'm at. But there are other people who can just talk with editors and sell them on an idea without that stuff. But you have to, of course, build up your reputation high enough in the first place to get there.
Okay. So, like, how do you see, like, your series? Is it a mini series or is it like a graphic novel that's going to be happening?
No, this is a 4-issue miniseries. I mean, that's a graphic novel length anyway. But so yeah, it's a one and done story for me.
Okay, so it's because like when people do horror stories, like part of it, like just like it's like well, like the sequels to horror movies, like a sequel to a horror movie is tough in that like you have to. It's like redoing a comedy, like to go back to that. Like comedy sequels are a little bit easier in just that like you can remix the jokes and just have like similar beats, but you can also like I'm trying to think of what's the greatest sequel to any comedy of all time, but I'm not really thinking of it. But horror movies, on the other hand, you can the killer gets away, so the killer is still out there. Excuse me for 1 second.
Yeah.
Right down. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
Someone was asking me for a scissor or whatever. So The that's why I was asking you. Do you see this as a possible things going on afterwards? Like like when you're making this, do you think you give yourself the little bit of leeway to just be like, well, technically, if this goes viral, I don't know how the story goes, so I'm just conjecture right here.
Yeah.
Well, if one person does this and it goes viral, and then there's another Killchella next year, Killchella 2, or Firefest, or there's still do you give yourself that room?
No, I'm just want to tell the one and done story right now, just because I don't want to get my hopes up for a let's say a sequel or such, and then the first book doesn't even get picked up. But I mean, that's the whole point of being creative. If you're a creative person, you should be able to find a way around adding on more to it, even if you didn't intend on doing that in the first place. I mean, like you said, you hit it on the head with that specific, I guess, plot point that there is, a lot of millennial culture in there, Gen Y culture in there. So, it's just trying to figure out how to put those two dots together.
Well, for the longest time, I thought I was late Gen X. Then I realized, I'm early millennial. Then, but everyone goes by what years that people were born. I think that's a useless measuring stick now, because I think your generation should be how you intook culture. There was generation radio, generation TV. Then once the internet hit, you have to go by app. What app did you use? Were you generation Facebook, or were you generation Instagram, or your generation TikTok? Because it used to be everybody had a shared I have a theory about this where it starts off wide, so you have all these towns that don't interact with each other, and then they just get bottlenecked by radio, TV, newspapers, and then internet, and then bang, whatever site that you're on, because there was the MySpace crew, there was Vine, there was Musical.ly, which is now TikTok. There's so many you can go, kids can go into a school now and not know what a single person else is watching, because I watched TNT in the mornings, and I watched Cartoon Network in the afternoons. So that meant I was watching Saved by the Bell in the mornings, and maybe a handful of people, a good amount of people knew what Saved by the Bell was when I was going to school, but nobody knew what the cartoons were. Nobody knew what Dragon Ball Z was. Did you ever notice that? Because if I talk to 13-year-old kids now, I might as well be talking to aliens.
Yeah, I mean, it's the ever expanding number of options that we have are going out there. So before, when you had terrestrial radio and people listened to their serials of Superman and Green Hornet and such, it was generally a smaller audience. Not necessarily a smaller audience, be a larger audience overall, but smaller options. And then, of course, you had over-the-air TV with 5 channels. I think Carson, when he was on his prime, was on 3 of the 5 channels at the same time. So, that's not a whole lot of options for people who don't like Carson to click through or turn the dial or whatever it is that they did. I'm an older millennial, so I came around just when the internet was really starting to hit. But still, we had cable packages and such. I think there was basic cable at 30-something channels. So a lot of my friends and I still watched the same things. You had your USA, your MTV, local channels. I'm drawing blanks right now. Cartoon Network, of course, when Tsunami hit, you had Dragon Ball Z, at 5:30 and midnight again? Is that what it was?
Well, there was that, but I grew up in a time period where on Channel 11, there would be because I had to be up at school for the bus at 7:30, so I'd wake up at 6:30.
That's WPIX 11, right? The WB?
Mm-hmm.
All right.
WPIX 11, and at 5 o'clock in the morning, they had 2 anime shows. I didn't know were anime. I thought they were just cartoons.
Yeah.
The first one ever was Ronin Warriors. That came on at 5 a.m. Then at 5:30, it was Dragon Ball Z. So I would set my VCR timer to record every day, 5 days a week, and I would watch them in the afternoons. Then, when Road Warriors went off the air, it got replaced by Sailor Moon. So I'm just watching these cartoons for years or whatever. Then I stopped getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning to watch these things. So Cartoon Network comes along, and it's like anime is an actual word now because Toonami has Sailor Moon and DBZ. They didn't have Ronin Warriors. So I was not ahead of the curve, but just me watching cartoons and not knowing the difference between what was made, because technically a lot of it was made overseas. But that was just an experience of just no wonder why I was the only one that actually got up early enough in the morning to watch these things. So that's why I say I've been for 30 years or 25 years, just I've been a fan of this stuff.
Yeah.
Did you have something like that, where it was just you found it early on, and then because you have to, I feel like you have to get comics and superhero crowds early enough. If you're introduced to it later on.
Yeah, so for comic books, I definitely got into I was still a teenager when The Walking Dead and Invincible came out at the same time. For a while, they had the same numbering because they came out from Robert Kirkman at the same time. I got in on Invincible and The Walking Dead on the ground floor. But for pop culture, I was more comedians. I remember Kevin Hart before he blew up. A lot of the bigger comedians now I would watch because Comedy Central always had those shows where it's a half hour, but they would feature 4 or 5 comics who were just starting out, and I would watch those all day long. And then, of course, those names became familiar, and then watching them start to do their full half-hour specials, and then from there blowing up to movies and TV, feature cameo roles, and then they get their own hour specials and Netflix specials, and then they get their own, TVs and shows and sitcoms and such. So I was always getting in on comedians earlier than anything else.
Now, as a fan of comedians, I gotta wonder: were you a bigger? If you had the option to, I don't know if you had the. Would you listen to Howard Stern in the morning, or would you listen to Opie and Anthony in the morning?
Stern, because that was just the bigger one when I was growing up. At least where I was. Yeah, the movie.
Because I feel like. Go ahead.
I said he had that movie, Private Parts. I mean, that's like Opie and Anthony.
That is still one of the funniest movies of all time.
Yeah, that wasn't as big. That was more like getting Mr. Pibb versus Dr. Pepper. Yeah.
You're lucky I get that reference. So, because Opie and Anthony, I would listen to them, and that's where I got introduced to Rich Voss, Patrice, Colin Quinn. There was just so I have a job where I had the ability to listen to things a lot because I had a lot of not free time, but no, they didn't care what I was listening to, so I would take these old recordings of that are online of Opie and Anthony, and I would just replay those greatest hits. I remember Bill Burr when he was Little Billy Burr on Opie and Anthony. And I remember, late at night on Comedy Central, watching his half hour, where it's him owning a pit dog in the hood, and he's just this short white guy with red hair with a pit bull, and it's just man, I'm enjoying this respect that I'm getting from everybody. Or going up, he did a bit where it's seeing me in the hood is like seeing a leprechaun. Now, did you have HBO growing up? Because if you had HBO and if you watched it enough, if you were into the comedy specials, I feel like you got some of the best specials, when specials really.
Yeah, I had HBO for a little bit. Towards like my end of middle school and high school, we didn't have cable or TV at all, really. But I had friends who would record stuff for me. Like they would record Raws and Nitros and South Park and cable specials and such. So I would still keep up with, things that way. But
All right.
I got to watch a little of everything.
All right. So, what do you got coming up, man? Like you got Killchella. Anything else that you're working on?
Yeah, so I have Killchella's coming out from Scout Comics in 2021. Be on the lookout for that. I have a another series that I'm pitching. I'm hoping to hear back from it soon, but this is a space action adventure story. It's more like it's less Star Wars, more Die Hard. But I'm trying to branch out and tell different stories like that, and this one's looking really good. And I have a Kickstarter coming in October for a comedic heist story. It's kind of like Scorsese meets Guy Ritchie films, and it takes
All
place
right,
in
dude.
Florida.
If you ever want to come back, if you ever want to promote more stuff, just let me know. Happy to have you
Absolutely,
back. So,
yeah.
all right. Just want to end this on a little game. For transparency, this is the third time we've tried to do this. We successfully talked the first time, and due to technical error, nothing got recorded clearly. So we talked for an hour, and we got an hour of.
Oh no.
So second time, my computer decided to do every single update possible when I turned it on. So that didn't work. Third time's the charm. We're recording. We both hear each other, so it's been great. If you had to, so if you had the opportunity to ask one question in any comics universe, it could be like our universe of the industry or a fandom. What would your one question be? Mine personally would be, why did Lex Luthor that's 10 talks.
It's all right.
Okay. Like, why did Lex Luthor decide to build the giant robot like the first time that he could? Like, it's like, really? Giant robot? Like, that's what you're going with or whatever? What would yours be?
How come Alan Scott's ring never worked on wood?
What was your question?
How come Alan Scott's Green Lantern ring did not work on wood?
All right. That's a good question. All right, man. Thanks for joining me. Happy to have you back. Good luck to you, all right?
All right, go Birds.
Go. My team's playing tomorrow, so peace.
Yeah. All right, take care. Thank you.